Recording. All right, and
That's amazing.
yeah. So we start with a roll call, and we'll start with you, Celeste.
Hi, Celeste Brooks.
Speak up into your, please.
Celeste Brooks.
Sue Sterry.
Didi Forte.
Eva Boyce.
Sue Poligura.
Corin Hollowell, City of Portsmouth.
Suzanne Woodland, Deputy City Manager.
And we have Carrie Rubenstein on the online. We're going to go. Approval of June 2nd minutes.
I don't think we have a quorum.
Oh,
Yeah.
yep. One.
Or one
Oh,
short.
one. Can't we count him? He's part of it.
Not a voting member.
Oh, I always forget something. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know. Should we wait until the end of the summer and decide if we should downgrade it to 5? I mean, people are out because of operations and
And it's summer.
It's
summer, right?
So,
We seem to have a problem.
okay, the minutes will wait. It's not a big
Yeah.
deal.
Okay. All right, moving on. We're going to talk about Point of Graves wall repairs. I can't remember if I sent this email out, but I'll just to bring you up to speed. The South End has a group of people called Friends of the South End. And they are looking to see what they can do to get the Point of Graves Cemetery taken care of, but especially the wall that's down there. They were at a meeting where the mayor and Peter Rice and other officials were there. It was a neighborhood group meeting, and it came up. That's where it came up last month. So I received a phone call immediately the next day from a Kathleen Boduck, who is, I guess, the chairman of that committee, wanting to talk about what can go on with the cemetery, because she had found out there was a cemetery committee. And then Suzanne, several days later, emailed me that Peter Rice wanted us to discuss it. So here we are. I've done some research, Corin's done some research, and we're going to do a little presentation about it. So we'll do the slide. These are current pictures of the wall. The wall was done in about 40 years ago, so in the late 1900s.
Wow.
This is primarily what they're talking about. So if we're standing here and we're looking at Pierce Island, this is Mechanic Street. That's the part we're talking about, Mechanic Street right here. There is a little section before them, but as you can see, it is almost parallel with the road. That wall at one time was 4 feet tall, way back in the day, and it was bricks. And the type of bricks that were used were not waterproof. I forgot there was salt bricks, which dissolve in the weather and water and stuff like that. So I've got 4 or 5 pictures. So
Okay. When you're
that
ready.
would be that's the very beginning. That's before. So that's not too bad. And then, next one. That's the section after it. And you can just keep going, please. And so you can see where that whole section is just down to the ground. And then we're going around the curve here. So this is at the curve, and you can see the old brick underneath. And that is probably not the original brick, because there were, as you can see from around, what they decided to do, I'm sorry, I apologize for not having the exact date, but it was about 50 years ago. They filled in what they could, because it was all brick all along there. They filled in what they could with any old bricks, and then they put the
Cement on it.
cement over the top of it. That was their solution. So I don't believe those are the original bricks, probably not, especially since it's a repair spot and everything is cracking. So if we go down a little bit further along the wall, there's another section. Again, have no idea if it's original, but they're still not the proper bricks for that. Well, you can see next to it. So, and then we go on next one. the top along the whole wall is pretty much cracked, but they're not moving. It's impossible to knock those over, so kids couldn't go in there and just, well, I shouldn't say that, but, yeah, we keep
Well, if they're
going.
going to adulterate the pool, they're certainly going to run into the cemetery.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I meant like tipping off the cement and stuff like that. So, and you can see more cracks, and I think there's only one more, oh, yeah, where it's separated from the patch job they did years ago. And then maybe one more, yep, another one. Yeah, keep going, and then we should see the old pictures. Oh, yeah, this was down,
I think that's just the backside in from inside the
yes,
cemetery.
I think that's what I did.
It's around
Sorry.
the corner.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we can keep going, yeah. Oh, that's what I did, thank you. It's been a while. And then hopefully the
Done.
next one is the,
That's it.
a picture of an old picture of the cemetery.
No, that's the last I got.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh. Well, they were on there, but that's okay. The old picture shows that back in the 1940s, that wall, that section was pretty low at that time. The wall was built back in 1840, 1845. I don't know if there was a wall before then, but that's how old supposedly this, that we have pictures of. So, and I do have a really old picture, which I couldn't download, of the wall and that section being 4 feet tall. But after that, most of them they've been taller than this, but never back up to 4 feet. So the main concern, well, we have an estimate. The estimate back from 2013 was $106,000 to just repair that section of the fence. I have no idea, what it would be going forward. Also, in that time frame, climate change has played more of a role in everything, decisions, but also the main concern is what the water table is down there. Because there's no question that the wall has sunk, and it has sunk over the years. And from talking to a few people like Peter Britz, who's in charge of our coastal resilience program, I got that right. All kinds of people have been doing research down in there, and definitely the water table has come up in years. So Strawberry Bank right now has done a couple of test pits that they're watching to see how bad their water table is rising over there. I found out today that the master plan that you and I were talking about, the city did do a master plan, 3 or 4 years ago, revised.
For the Prescott Park area?
Right, revised it. I was given Thomas Watson's name and said that some test pits may have been done back then that would be close enough or even at that area to let us know what the water table would be. So I haven't been able to get a hold of him.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Whatever they do at Prescott Park, how would that affect what we might do?
Doesn't.
It doesn't? Okay.
No, we're not a part of Prescott Park.
Well, I know that,
Aesthetic-wise?
but, pardon
Do you
me?
mean as an aesthetic?
No, I mean how they made, any work they do to mitigate coastal concerns at Prescott Park.
Oh, excuse me, yeah, that whole area is really one section, and if
Right.
someone does something to one section, it's going to affect the other section. There's no,
So-
but that's way down the line right now.
Okay.
We haven't even done tests.
So,
Plan.
yeah, so the Prescott Park Master Plan is on the city's website. So you could certainly look at it. And I know that on Monday night, there is actually going to be a short presentation, I believe, from Mr. Watson and I think Peter Rice on the work, the first scope of work, phase of work under that plan, because we've actually narrowed or shortened up that scope of work because of a variety of factors. I would expect that if there is data on the water table down there, I'm sure Corin could follow up with Peter Rice, because it would have been done by our consultants in preparation for this work that they're going to describe on Monday night. So we could probably just double check and see if Weston and Sampson, I think
Yeah,
it's
if any
Weston
of their
and Sampson.
data applies, I would
Yeah.
imagine it would.
Yeah, so we could follow up on that for the next round, next conversation on it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so you said Monday is the meeting?
Yep,
So,
the city council meeting, yep.
oh, at the city council meeting?
Yep.
Okay. So the real question is, what's the best way, or I'm looking at it, what's the best way to approach this? To find out where we should start, if we should start, all of that information, so.
So let me suggest two things. First, I don't know if Corin's had any conversations with Peter Rice yet in terms of some thinking on strategies we might want to look at. I know one thing I talked about with Peter Rice is, and I think with you maybe, is, Susan, is using the resources of this committee to do an LCHIP grant.
Oh,
So
yeah,
if we could
yeah.
help with understanding, coming up with enough of an estimate that we could attach it to an LCHIP grant, and then as we need to, when we go through the CIP process, starting in the fall, begin to figure out how much money we might want to, the committee might want to recommend gets put into that for this. Do you have any, if it's okay, maybe Corin could weigh in on
I-
anything?
Yeah, I mean, we just talked about discussing sort of priorities, so I think you have a few issues here. I think you have like,
Can I have you grab the mic?
Oh,
That
sure.
way
Sure,
Kevin
sorry.
will be happier, because, yeah.
I think you have the long-term viewpoint, which is how do we protect the cemetery in the larger span of time and scope of things. And then you have the more immediate issue of how do we just repair this wall to stop it from getting worse. So I think there's a couple things there that are going on. And I think it really depends on LCHIP and funding really as to what direction you go. I mean, I obviously going to want to start with figuring out the long-term solution. What does that entail? That's going to require way beyond anything I can offer. I mean, that's engineers, archaeologists.
Geo. It's
That's geo.
geoengineers.
So, the more immediate thing is, okay, I mean, it depends how much funding you have. I mean, you could get somebody to come in and just patch it up for now, aesthetic and for preventing any further degradation, and then go with your long-term plan from there.
Are you okay, Duncan?
Yeah, I'm getting by.
Well, it's good to see that you're recovering from your hip surgery.
Slowly but surely.
Yeah. No, I agree with you 100%.
And that's largely directed by this committee, what direction you want to go with that, I would assume.
Right. I know the group down there, wants to be brought up really spiffy and looking great. My personal opinion is, right, the upper wall, I mean, I have no idea how much it would cost just to patch over all of that. It's the lower wall that concerns me. And also, I spoke to the state archaeologist, and we sort of tossed around ideas. And, the best place, we don't know what we're up against. So do we want to go for an LCHIP for $80,000, match it for 80, spend $160,000 on a wall that may sink because we don't know what's underneath there, what the water table is? The issue isn't so much if down in that slope that if the coffins aren't there anymore, that's okay. It's still a burial ground. But according to the Coastal Resilience Committee, by 2050, it could have 11 feet of water over it. Now, I mean, that's a big jump from now to 2050, but even if it only had 2 feet of water over it most of the time, do we want to spend that kind of money to repair a wall,
Also, isn't there a plan for the seawall as part of the coastal resilience program? So that all has an impact on, if they redo the entire seawall along Prescott Park from the State Fishing Pier all the way down, that may resolve issues as far as that direct relationship to water. As far as rising water, I think we can probably see if there's any data that came in when they did the test pits in Prescott Park for the master plan to see if it applies to the entire area.
Yeah.
And go from there. And I'm sure they've had some predictions as part of the master plan as to, hey, we expect this many feet or inches per year for the next 10, 20 years. And then, obviously makes decisions based on that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing all this information out. because
Right.
What we have to be wary of is the fact that what might be happening over in Prescott Park may not have anything to do with what's sitting underneath the cemetery. I mean, you can have one spot over here that, is dry as a bone, and then right next to it, it could be very wet underneath, depending on what's underneath that spot. So not having that or technical information, you'd still be making a decision. I'm just throwing this out, decision based on blind information.
And they
So-
just did some work on the bait shop that's there.
Yeah, they have a pump station. I think we
directly
need to
across.
see if the data that they have applies to the entire area. I mean, that's something I could not answer. I don't
Right.
know.
Because if it stops at the Pierce Island Road, then that's not going to help the,
And that's even lower
cemetery.
than Prescott Park. So.
yeah.
No, I
So-
mean, this is all information that has to be gathered. There's no,
Right.
and it's not an easy thing to do. And I even looked into what the procedure is if we wanted to do some test borings to find out what the sea level or the water table is right there at the cemetery. It can be done.
Sure.
It wouldn't be cheap necessarily, but it can, that is something down the line if we want to do. It's available to be done out there, and it will be regulated through the Department of Justice because they're in charge of all the cemetery trustees. So anything that's going to be done in the cemetery like that has to be approved or go through the Department of Justice.
I mean, I think it can't hurt for you to get some estimates for basic repair. I mean, Michael Griffin has the crew that's in his cemetery all the time fixing that wall. Maybe you start with something as simple as, hey, what would it take to patch this thing up to prevent any further degradation and to sort of make it more visually appealing? Because I think any major rehab of any wall down there it's going to have a big number on it.
Oh, yeah.
So
I mean,
maybe we
I-
kind of do both simultaneously. Maybe we can dig into getting some prices for basic repairs and then work on this other large scale thing, obviously piece by piece.
Yeah.
Could we go back just to a couple of pictures or?
Oh, sure, I was just trying to make sure, we had Carrie, so.
Yeah,
hang on.
back the other way. So that big gaps that, like up in this area, that's the high section. So are we talking about securing the top? Obviously, that would be a major, that would be on the list. What I'd like to know is if, when we go down further, do we want to re-secure the tops back on? I guess it's the other way. Sorry. Yeah, like those kinds of things. Do we want to, is that what I should be looking for estimates for?
Yeah, I would talk to the folks that do it and just show them what we have and say, what are your recommendations? I mean, what do you think here for aesthetic and also for slowing down the deterioration of the wall?
Yeah.
They might say, hey, the best thing to do here is to take this cap off, chisel back this coating, replace the, I don't know. I'm
Oh,
not,
yeah.
I'm not, but
Yeah.
I would start with that for sure. I mean, if you just watch this crew that he's had down there, that, it depends on the section they're working on.
Yeah.
Sometimes they take the whole cap right off, and sometimes they get to a section, you see they're just, repairing in a
Yeah.
minor way. So I think their expertise would be certainly needed for that.
Yeah, those gentlemen are from Italy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah.
They're from Italy.
Were
Yeah.
the Friends of the South End, like, specific on what they wanted? Like,
No, they
fixed?
just,
they just
want
want it fixed?
Yeah. I mean, I haven't, we didn't get into that with Kathleen, but, all I have to do is look at the wall. And when it
Yeah.
comes closer, she said they would be glad when I get estimates, or if we get to that point, a couple of them would come and point out what they want
Yeah.
or would like.
Yeah, I think Corin has the right recommendations here in terms of do this, two paths, which is, one is, what can we do to slow down the deterioration? And get some estimates for that, because that may be enough in itself alone to, be a nice, good L-chip request to slow down the deterioration. And data is being collected by Strawberry Bank, and we can look at, do we need something more site-specific, in which case it's that process to figure out what that would cost. Maybe we could get some grant monies, or maybe we could find some monies if there's other work going on at Strawberry Bank to kind of tag on
Yeah.
with them, because they've already got sort of the setup, so to speak. I think it's the two pieces, and then, get some more information on kind of seeing how the pieces fit together in terms of what's being done over the long term,
Right.
because it's a long plan for Prescott Park, and how that fits in. So I do think the multi-pronged approach makes a lot of sense, and he's right, Mike Griffin's got a good crew out there who's been doing work, and if Mike can bring them over and say, hey, could you give us an estimate for slowing down the deterioration, what could we do?
I don't know if it's worth bringing in
Yeah.
Peter Britz just to sort of get in on the conversation, because he
Yeah.
might have a way better idea of how all of this entire area is going to tie together. So I don't know, it seems like a multi-committee sort of approach as to how all of these things are going to work together.
Yeah.
Right. I actually spoke to him today, and he told me where the maps were, and he's the one that suggested I go see about the master plan. But no, he's more than willing. Down the line.
Yeah.
Because you change one major thing and it changes the other, but we're not close to that yet. Because he didn't know when the test pits were going to be done for the city and that kind of thing. So he said it depended on the master plan. So, but he is in the loop.
So we could get some more information for the next meeting and see what the schedule is for test pits, whether
Right.
it's close enough, or whether we need to consider doing something closer or in the,
Yeah, I can dig into that.
yeah.
And by the way, the state archaeologist worked on a job out in the Midwest, and their town, which was bigger than ours, they just let one of their graveyards go under the water.
Oh, wow.
So, with notation that it was there, but this was Mother Nature, and this is life. I'm not suggesting that, I'm just throwing it out there.
No,
that
I'm glad you were.
in all these conversations, there's a lot of different views on which way to go, so.
I have a question about the wall. Now, is there some sort of rule that says that the cemetery has to have a wall?
No, not that I know of. You can't build within 25 feet of a wall, of a cemetery.
Right.
But, no. But over in the past year, when I've spoken to cemetery restoration people about the whole cemetery, not just, most of them try to go back, try to find old pictures or descriptions of what the cemetery was 100 years ago or whatever, and most historians go back to whatever they can find and leave it at that. So I do know that this has had a fence at least since the middle of the 1800s, a wall around it, so. And it may have been different kinds of walls even before then, but there there's always been, and part of the reason is because the cows used to pasture there back in the 1600s, so, yeah, so it's always had a wall. We could add some cows, no, I'm just joking. If we want to make it really authentic. Oh, we could do that for the 400th. We should. Wouldn't that get everybody's goat? No, just joking.
You know, you can also, with the Moose Plate grant, under some circumstances, you can, not that you can combine it with L-CHIP, but you can, under certain circumstances, you can apply for both. And, you know, L-CHIP, you need the commensurate funding.
80,000, yeah.
And you can, there are ways to take that Moose Plate grant and use that as a matching fund. And I think that's an important thing when you're doing a big project like this.
Yeah.
And I really would be surprised if Strawberry Bank wasn't a real help. When I first came to Portsmouth, I rented there, and the basements were always underwater in a bad rain. You would go out in the big field, and the water, you know, it took 2 days for it to be absorbed. So, and I know they were on it even years ago. I haven't lived there in years, so I don't know what they've done, but I think they would be a good resource.
Yeah, absolutely. I just got their person's name. I put a phone call in to Rodney Rollins, I think it is. Yeah. So,
Rodney Rowland.
right,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
I know Rodney well, yeah. He's a good guy.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I put a phone call in, because that was also from Peter Ritz, to give
Good.
Rodney a
Good.
phone call and see what was going on with them. And they've always had problems, because that's filled in
Yeah,
land anyway.
I know.
So.
Yeah, that's true.
Does anybody else have any questions for Cornyn, or so he can go home and get ready for tomorrow? That's how it is.
Now, tomorrow, we're just gonna have a tank of water there, so you don't
For
have to
Saturday?
bring. Yeah.
No,
Wait a
the
minute,
tank
yeah.
that I have is, I just can't put it down there. It's just a giant eyesore. So
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm working on maybe something for next season. We need to build something where we could put a tank down there. The big issue is we can't go in with equipment. So anything heavy, I can't drive a loader, for example, into the cemetery. So whatever it is would need to be more out near the street, because I couldn't get in past headstones to put it anywhere. Or we'd have to get it in by hand and then fill it. So what I have now is not appropriate for down there. But I can certainly work on, how many gallons do you think you're using per session? Do we have any idea? 100, 200? I mean, the buckets are what, 5-gallon buckets?
Yeah, maybe 100, but
Okay.
that would be.
So I'm
max.
working on something, but it's not ready yet. But I'll have the water truck there.
I was gonna say, if
I'll
you
have
put it towards the back, and maybe you can take your hose over the fence and fill it that way.
Yeah, it's just getting that structure there. So, yeah, I'll work on it. But in the meantime, I have somebody that'll be there with the truck again and bring all the materials
And,
down.
and it's worked
No
really
problem.
well,
Yeah.
you know. And we do have people coming from the Elks to help this time, so.
Do you need parking signs blockage at all for the, or is it worked out pretty well because it's early
No
morning?
one's complained,
Okay.
so,
So we won't worry about that.
yeah.
Okay.
You are released, like school.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Good to see everybody.
Thank you so much.
Take
Yep,
care.
you bet. See ya.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we cover that. So real quick, along with that, in the email I sent, Kathleen Bodup, of the Friends of the South End, has offered for the group, they would sponsor 1 or even 2 cleaning parties for Point of Graves. So I had said to her that I would bring it to you guys, and that I would anticipate it would be just like North Cemetery. We would supply all the cleaning materials and the instruction, and then they're going to supply all the people to do it. So we can't vote on it though, can we?
Right,
Oh.
how many? Right, we've got one
2,
more.
3, 4, 5, 6.
6 of us. I think we're one short, aren't we?
Yeah, it's 7.
Is anybody on Zoom?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you need 7 in person.
You have to be in person, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't make the law. Once you have the quorum in person, then everyone can vote if there are others. Yeah.
But I can still investigate and see what a good schedule for them is. I would assume they would want to do it on a weekend too. We can get one of our Saturdays. We can do that.
I would recommend that we kind of get more specific in the areas we're cleaning. Because,
Of north or?
yeah, of the north, because there are some areas towards the back
Yeah?
that I went in just because I was locating certain graves and cleaned them myself, but there are some that really need attention.
Yeah.
And maybe we can do it in clusters, just kind of,
Well, that's what we've been doing, essentially. We started at the first, the second meeting we did behind to down to the tunes. And then some people started over here in front of it. And Michael and the other people did that section over there. So the last section up front would be by the line that goes into Union. Union.
Okay.
So depending on how many people show up, a group can go down there, and then we can start up at the top of the hill and start going down behind it. So,
yeah, if it's a hot day, it would be a good location because there's a nice tree in there.
yeah,
You get
Yeah. It's
a nice
supposed to be a
shade.
great weekend.
yeah, it's supposed to be a good day. So, does anybody have any questions about the offer made by the Friends of the South End? That was very generous. They wanted to be a part of it. So, what I will do is I will just I will meet with her and find out what their idea is and what their time frame is, and then let us all know, and we can vote on it to include them.
Yeah.
So,
It's great timing.
yeah,
Nice.
perfect. Update on foundations and grants. The Moose Plate was accepted. Let's give Eva a hand after all my little work there. So that's in, and we got the notice that it was accepted. Did you got the notice that it was?
No.
No, I mean, accepted for,
Consideration.
Consideration, right,
Right.
they tell us in September, right?
right, but I
Yeah.
mean, we got that everything was
Yes,
okay. And
they didn't
accept-
throw it in the trash, so.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's good.
important.
That's
what
good.
yeah.
Yes, it's
That
still
we-
on somebody's desk.
Yeah,
Good,
that,
good.
it was a good job.
I'm
and-
very optimistic about that.
Yeah. I am. So, the certified local government, which could also play into this climate problem at Point of Grace. I meet with Nick and an intern next Thursday, and so we're real close to finishing that up. There's about 4 or 5 things that need to be checked off that the city doesn't quite meet. They're little things, which Nick wants to incorporate into the procedures of the planning anyway. So I meet with him. If those 4 or 5 things are taken care of within the next month, the deadline is the end of September, he will submit us to be approved. And when we are, again, that opens up not just grants, but it also opens up access to archaeologists and whoever else is a great big long list. So I also found out that Preserve America is a program that we belong to, and we are listed on the national site as a Preserve America city, which means, again, they offered various grants, so maybe this fall we'll get more information on it and then decide which ones to apply for through them. So I think there was one more. No, that was it. That was Preserve America. So, and I don't know, Carrie, did you have any luck finding any new possibilities?
Not so much luck. Can you hear me?
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Oh, good. Okay, great. I mean, have we pursued the DAR
No,
grant?
no, I can do that though, since I'm now a DAR person, so I know we have to have
Yeah.
sponsorship by a DAR person, so I'll find somebody on DAR that might want to do it because they know I'm doing cemetery, we have a cemetery committee.
Right.
So they've offered their
Right.
help. So I will put that on my list to speak to the head of the DAR. Okay.
And the 1772 Foundation is another possibility, but, it would have to be for 2023. And basically, this year, letters of inquiry had to be in by December 1st, 2021. So I imagine the timing would be similar. If they would consider doing a cemetery, we'd have to get something, a letter of inquiry by the December 1st, probably. And then invited applicants will be noted by December 17th, and that was last year again. And then applications would be due in February of 2023. So, the timing is really long range, but
Right.
it's something, does anybody have any relationship with the people there?
Where are they out of?
1772?
They're, let me see, I have that someplace. I thought I did. Can't put my finger on it, but I will look for it.
It's New Hampshire though, right?
It's New Hampshire, and it's Mary Anthony, Executive Director. I have her email. So I could just write and ask. I mean, I didn't want to duplicate anything, but if nobody has a relationship with her, I could just write and say, hey, we're on this committee. Is that some area that you would consider funded?
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah, great.
That would be great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to duplicate it. We'll see, but, I guess hopefully I'll hear from her.
Carrie, by any chance, did you see what these applications look like? Are they complex? Are they 10 pages, 2 pages? Or
Good question.
Yeah.
I've looked at so many things right now.
Okay.
I'm not sure that I looked at theirs.
Well,
but it's,
I can look at it. I just
everything's
wondered.
online. Yeah.
I just
everything's
wondered.
online.
Okay.
This one I think is probably not as bad as some of the, or good.
Okay, thanks.
Some of the national foundations, like the National Trust for Historic Preservation, I mean, it just seemed like, you're starting your own country or something to do those applications.
That is true, yeah.
The
Yeah,
website.
and I didn't know if we were a member of that organization.
Yes, we are, because that's what Preserve America is linked to. So when they
okay.
send newsletters, which I can start sending to everybody, I just started receiving them. I can forward on the newsletter to everybody. That's who Preserve America is linked to. So
Okay.
I don't know
so
which
they
came
do-
first, but yeah.
They have National Trust Preservation Fund, small grants from $2,500 to $5,000. And they have rolling deadlines for applications, February, June, and October. So that might be something we could, if we're a member, we can give it a try. And no, I thought this one was kind of interesting. Also through the National Historic Trust, they have Peter H. Brink Leadership Fund, and they give grants of up to $2,500 for professional development mentoring, which, it'd be great to have somebody who is really, really experienced with this stuff kind of helping us. So that's, it's a little off the, not direct, but it could be helpful. So that's kind of all I have right now. I'll keep going down this rabbit hole, but, and I'll try to get in touch with this woman at 1772. Wish I had more to say. I think it's
that's
really,
good.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Good start.
No, that's good. It takes a long time flipping through the internet and all the sites to find anything that's even
Right.
relative. So
yeah.
that's a lot of
Yeah.
information. Yeah, yeah. So-
Okay, well, I'll continue to pursue it, and we should probably then, if we're members of this National Trust, really, I'll see if I can get copies of what their grant applications look like, and also the 1772.
Okay, and I'll send everybody a copy of the latest newsletter I just
That'd be
got.
great.
Yeah. So,
And so when you say we're members, does that mean the town's a member?
well, I think what it means is, yes, the town. Because I saw Stephanie Secord sent me the application, and I didn't go through all of it. It just, it's like the certified local government. You just meet all these criteria that you're historic and you're doing these things and that thing. And so then once they accept you, you get that label, and you get listed on the national site. So it's like being on any registry. If you, that means you've been okayed. So it sort of eliminates some of the steps that you have to go through, I think, to get the grants, or you're sort of pre-approved, so.
The only other thing I would add is that, you know, they have on one of these sites, the New Hampshire Historical something or other, you know, they have a link to ideas for helpful hints for preservation projects. I think you've probably seen it. New Hampshire Division of Historical Resources.
Yeah.
And I mean, it just has like advice, and I think some of it's pretty good. And I think maybe Sue, you read it because you're doing a lot of this stuff. It says, before chasing dollars, try building awareness and appreciation for the project. Some successful strategies include small and large group brainstorming, media campaigns to spread the word of an ad hoc group's intention, holding an open house, consulting municipal boards and commissions, outreach to other community groups, and thinking of new ways to solve old dilemmas. So they say really, you know, build a lot of buzz, try to build buzz before you start asking for money, which I feel like that's what we're doing, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And they recommend things like bake sales, community suppers, yard sales, 5K run walk, online fundraiser. And then I thought it says inquire with local banks and your community's trustee of trust funds to see if there are other local sources for funding, which sounds like good advice.
Yeah. We started looking into that a little bit, but until we have more of a definite plan, you know, it's a little too soon to ask for 5,000 or 10,000 without specifically saying, do you want to, you know, support this project of rebuilding all the iron fences in not South, but.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's
So,
just, but
yeah.
I think though what we're doing, and really with your leadership at the, you know, the co-chair's leadership is beginning to build some of that buzz. And I mean, I saw Stephanie's newsletter this week. It's got stuff in it again. So anyway, that's it. That's all I would say.
Well, good. It's nice to see not outside, but that you've read information and we sort of following those guidelines, so.
Yeah, I think that's great.
And I think that's why the cleaning was the best, or a good opportunity, because I get a lot of phone calls or emails and stuff,
Sure.
or talk out in the community about, oh, the cemetery committee, and we're getting out there, so, you know. Cemetery committee. At the Elks, I'm known as Cemetery Sue. So I don't know if that's good, bad, or indifferent, but they certainly know where my loyalties lie. So yeah. So anyway.
And we've been together less than a year.
Oh yeah. No,
like-
I know. Yeah.
I don't know.
I think we're
You've
really
done a
out
great
there.
job
No.
with your leadership.
No,
For sure.
we're out there for sure. I mean, we even
Yeah.
got a letter from New Zealand or Australia about headstones. So anyway,
It's way out there.
okay. Well, thank you for all that information. And real quick about the 400th. Oh, sorry.
A couple of meetings ago, there was mention of some grant that had to be originated from the Historic District Commission.
Right.
Can you give me more information on that?
That's the one that Nicholas Cracknell's working on. It's called Certified Local Government. And what that does is we have to meet a whole bunch of criteria as the Historic District does, or the committee. And once we've met all of those criteria, then we become a certified local government, which opens the door to grants, publications, free publications, training, access to archaeologists, and money grants too. I mean, it's a great big list of things. And so when I went to meet with Nick 3 or 4 months ago, he decided that it was worthwhile because a couple of people on his committee were after him too. So once he read over all of the, it's like a 35-page, not application, but a manual and things like that. He realized that the city does most of those procedures and that some that we don't really should be implemented about how they track information, how much more education probably people should have. And so that's what I'll meet with him next week, so the intern. So that's all I mean, you can go on New Hampshire Historic Preservation and look up certified local government. It will give you probably 100 pages of the various things that make us eligible. We also belong to 2 districts too. We have the state district and we also have a national district, which I don't know what that's called. But we have more than one map, historic district map for the city.
Does anybody know where Jim Garvin is these days? He used to be with the Division of Historical Resources.
I haven't seen his name, so I don't know. I've only spoken to the archaeologists and a couple of the women that sponsor or work with the grants, so.
He would be a storehouse of knowledge for stuff like this, because he was in the Division of New Hampshire Historical Resources for years. Jim Garvin, Garvin.
Yeah,
And I saw him,
he's local?
I don't think he's immediate local, but I saw him sometime in the last 6 or 9 months, it seems to me. I don't know what brought him here, but
Yeah.
it had been a long, long time since I saw him, but when I was on the Save the Old State House Committee.
Oh, yeah.
He was a member of that committee, and you know, it's as I say, he probably has a wealth of knowledge.
Oh, that'd be good. Yeah,
This
I
kind of
will.
thing.
I will inquire. I know since we've started this project, even back in September, a lot of people that were around when 2013 was taking place and the assessments and repairs, a lot of those people have retired, so he may have been in that.
Yeah, well,
group.
he's
Yeah, no,
definitely of retirement age.
well, any leads are good leads, and I ask questions all the time, so you never know where you're gonna get an answer that you might need, so, yes.
Yeah, just doing
Yeah.
courtesy of Google. It looks like maybe he's in Pembroke, New Hampshire. So I can follow up with you, Sue, and
Oh, that'd be great.
looks like this may be the gentleman that you're referring to. So,
Okay. Thank you. I love all hints are welcome.
Absolutely.
You never know.
Networking is what it's all about, so.
So Dee's gonna cover the 400th for us?
Yeah, so we did get our application in. I've asked for confirmation that they received it, and haven't heard back. So that's like kind of the first step, and the second step is to put in like an agreement that we want to be on the program and co-brand, and haven't found who to give that to. So, because I'm not hearing back from them, so I don't know. Do they have an office actually in? No. Okay. Well, I'll keep digging, but we did get it in before the deadline of June 30th, so.
Yeah.
And besides that, we just have to get our act together on
And decide
what
what-
we want to do.
Their website is, I don't know if you all had a chance to view it, so,
Yeah.
is up and going. And most of the stuff on there, it says tentative. They have some outlines
Yeah,
of definite
yeah,
things they're
yeah.
gonna do, but there's plenty of room, and I haven't seen maybe one other group has offered up something on a regular basis, but no one else, so we're not behind as far as if we want to put, again, 1 week or 1 day or what have you, so we can push that down the road a little bit at this time, so we won't stay late. Does anybody have any suggestions or thoughts, or just wait until we?
Is everything happening during day hours, or are there?
No.
Because I mean, doing like a ghost tour in the cemeteries or ghost stories.
Oh, yeah,
I
we
think
could
would be-
do any of that, yeah.
Yeah, you should visit the website.
Yeah. I'll look that up then.
It's from January 1st. It starts with the New Year celebration, and it goes right through to the next New Year celebration. And they're open to everything. And on there it says, you know, you can do movies, whatever, day, night, whatever fits in.
Pictures,
I don't know how, I mean, if you submit, I don't know the process, if they might say no, but they're certainly open to all kinds of ideas. They didn't specify, you know, that you had to be approved or what have you.
Right.
I assumed we would have to be, or anybody would have to be. So, yeah, and there are a lot of old, are you into ghost tours?
I haven't been to the ones in Portsmouth, but I've done some in like Edinburgh and New Orleans, like, you know, very haunted cities, which are always fun to kind of, you get the little
Yeah.
spooky little history.
Yeah. And if you want to look up again in that, there have been ghost tours over the last 15 to 20 years, and they're still listed online, or if you
I
Google
was gonna
it.
say, there's a couple companies, or there's a woman who does some in Portsmouth, and then I know the woman who owns Pickwick's, they have like their own kind of ghost tour thing that they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Roxy, is it Roxy?
I don't know her name off the top of my head.
Her name's someplace.
Okay.
Sue?
Yeah, sorry.
Did you see the email from Mr. Marginson in terms of,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, and Donald looked up, and I don't know, he talked to you, Carrie, but looked up the various militias, and wasn't very positive about it, because it was just an email, so I haven't had a chance to talk to him more. That he found a brief history about, which militia is it that was at Fort Constitution?
First New Hampshire and second New Hampshire.
Right. So he did some research on that and some other militias and encampments, and didn't come back with anything that was really worth reporting at this point in time. He just wanted to let us know that he had done the research. His concern is, you know, make sure that we got a good group, if we did it, to get a good group in here, so we wouldn't be embarrassed. And the other thing is, do we really want to present that kind of, I don't think you'd call it entertainment, but that historical perspective during the 400th. So that was one of his concerns too. So, but he's going to be at the next meeting, so he can talk more, and he'd probably have more information for us too. So, he mentioned your name, Carrie. Did you talk to him, or Don?
No, what's his name?
Don Margison, about the encampments and things, the militia?
No.
Okay, that's all right.
No.
I may have misread. That's okay.
But it's a good point that we really need to vet, you know, like any group that we're gonna have come in, and just make sure it's not political, or, you know what I mean, that it's just gonna
Right.
Yeah, good
represent.
point.
Yeah, first and second New Hampshire regiments are not political. They're just people that dress in era clothing, and they just reenact. And the last one that just happened was in Fort Constitution. And they like going there because they can fire muskets, and they fire a cannon a couple of times. So, but which is something that you can't do anything closer to the downtown.
Sorry, what are they reenacting?
They're reenacting a lot of the battles. They're reenacting mostly anything that is related with Fort Constitution, which means the raid that happened there in 1774.
Definition, any sort of war and battle is political in nature. So I mean that.
Yeah, but this is the history of this area, you know?
You know, if you're saying you don't want something political, battles and war are political.
Yeah, it doesn't,
And I don't know how cemeteries and militias, other than there might be dead militia members in the cemetery, I don't see really don't see the connection so much.
if you do like either a reenactment or just give them to bring on to honor those people who are in the different cemeteries that were part of the original militias, then they will have they have a better a good occasion for them to be there.
Right.
But yeah, they're gonna be doing it again in December because we're gonna get hopefully we're gonna get that date in the calendar, the date of the raid at Fort William and Mary and Fort Constitution. So this is gonna be like a yearly kind of observance if the weather allows it.
And what date are they reenacting? So like if it's before 1776, then it's pro-America, it's not really political. I don't know.
Yeah, they all pro-America. It's 1770. This happened in 1774, and so I really don't see it as a political anything as long as you are representing the Americans and not the British. I would think.
Right. Dawn was coming from is that I mean, I just read the email.
yeah.
I didn't.
I haven't talked to him personally either.
I haven't talked to him personally, but I think he was saying that the name of different militia groups has now been used for other political stuff. So,
My personal opinion is I don't think you need to worry.
Well, I don't think we need to worry either. I mean, First New Hampshire Militia is associated with John Stark. All right?
Yeah.
If anybody has any other issue other than that, maybe we can have a conversation. But First New Hampshire Regiment, Militia, John Stark.
Yes, that is true. And I
And-
think we'll talk more. I mean, we don't have to decide today. And I think it's a good point that,
we need to vet.
right, but also we all look at things a little bit differently. So when it gets down to what we really want to do, and
Yeah, maybe put in the word colonial militia, so people don't think there is a modern militia.
yeah, right. And we haven't voted on anything yet, but it's certainly, I guess it's just a really good example. We all look at things differently, so.
Right.
And it's worth talking about. And for what Sue was talking about real quick is that we're in the city of Portsmouth, unofficial battle with Boston about who had the first
Right.
actual activity in the Revolutionary War. It was
did.
us. And,
That's settled.
yeah, it was us.
Let's vote on that.
But no, I mean, it's just a friendly rivalry, and it just gets all that information out to the world that we really were the beginning of this country.
Duly research and we did all the research, we did all the documentations, firsthand testimony from people that were at the battle, and it's like, yeah, we qualify for that. So.
Okay, so July 9th, Saturday. As I said, I did a notice with the Elks that went in their newsletter and everything, and I have received inquiries back, so hopefully there will be quite a few Elks there to help us. So same time, same place, 8:30 to noon, be there any amount of time you can be there. Bring a friend.
Cemetery again?
Yeah, no cemetery. Bring a friend, bring your grandmother, whatever.
Sue, do you need more copies of the release form? Do you need us to?
I have
Okay.
a stack of 30 of them. So, then and I covered the part, South End. Anybody else have anything they want to bring up real quick? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
When is Sue gonna do another cemetery tour?
Anytime you guys want to.
I've been on her tours.
Oh, yeah, I mean, she's going to be part of the 400th, no question about it, so.
Yeah, I may just post something in one of the Portsmouth websites, you know, the non-official ones, and just do something on a Saturday and Sunday coming up.
And she's going to dress as Lady Langdon, so. That's her new name, Lady Langdon. She'll have her hat this
You know,
time.
that sounds too British, too Tory.
And you think us Americans weren't, had a little class there, you know? All right, now you totally knocked me off my thought of.
I wanted to bring something up, but I also don't want to go over time, so I'll try to be quick. I was thinking about, you know, getting ourselves out a little more. And I simultaneously was looking at you know, my daughter sends out these Christmas cards with the kids on them. You know, they're about this high. They're like, well, you know, when you walk up the stairs here and there's a thing and it has different,
Oh, the Seacoast.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it has, you know, go to see this thing or that thing. And the things are always about this high and this wide. And sometimes when you stop at state-run places, they'll have these brochure-type things that you can pick up. So I started to think about how easy it would be to create something like that with a few cemetery pictures, and say easy access from, you know, Market Square, and put in some pictures of North Cemetery and the point of graves and that kind of thing. And as you know, I said to my daughter, how much do you pay for those Christmas cards? And she said next to nothing. So I thought, oh, that's good. But I wondered about that, and I wondered if it was anything anyone here would be interested in pursuing. I thought they were something that we could put in the hotels down there.
Yeah.
Maybe the restaurants. And that, and they may say, oh, I have to ask corporate, but I would say, well, we're your neighbors over there. We're trying to make the place look good, and et cetera, et cetera. I can't imagine it would be too terribly expensive. But then I thought, does this conflict with any charter or anything we have with the city? Would the 400 committee not want to see us do something like that? I'm just thinking, again, some kind of brochure, but just a two-sided heavy paper thing to leave in different places.
Right.
Like,
Yep.
they have
Supermarkets
whale
and stuff have
watches.
them.
Yes, right. So many places have them.
Yeah, Suzanne?
So I think that's a very interesting idea, and I think Sean Clancy, who is our economic development director, because he has relationships with the businesses. So,
okay.
and certainly at the library, there are a number of places
Right,
where,
right.
besides here and
Right.
you know, at the senior center, like there's certainly a number of places, and I'm wondering about using that QR code that would take them direct to the website, which has the donate button on it.
I wondered if you could put the QR code on. the
Yeah,
brochure.
I'm sure you could.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
maybe why don't I have, if I have you follow up with Stephanie Secord
Okay.
about this idea, and I'll catch up with her and let her know that, you know, Sean might be a good resource if we can get this done.
And what's Sean's last name?
Clancy.
So,
The only thing I will put out there that I know is that stand that's out there,
Yeah.
unless it's changed, is owned by a company, and you have to go through them to place anything in there.
I don't doubt it. Like
No, I mean, I don't know, but I mean, that might be
I
a
said,
roadblock.
you could call, you know, the motels, and they would say, well, we have to ask corporate. We can't just do
No,
it.
it's
It's
not
almost like the
corporate.
library where
But yeah.
it's a city
There,
spot.
there
The
are so
Discover
many
Portsmouth
business owners
Center,
that
all
are-
the historic houses.
Right. There are so many business owners that I think are pro-city and want to do, want to do what they can. So,
Yeah.
so Should I contact Stephanie, or would you rather do that? And
You contact, I'll shoot, just give me, 12 hours.
you can have more than that, but.
And I will shoot Stephanie a note
Okay,
to expect
wonderful.
it, to contact,
Okay.
and she can kind of noodle this out with you. And
Okay, I know her, so,
Yeah,
because she
I
was at
remember.
Strawberry Bank when I was there, so.
Yep, when we met before.
That would be
Yep.
great, okay.
Yeah.
And your 12 hours would expire on Monday.
I may text her on the way home while I'm driving and put Siri on.
Any other last minute? You're set, you're set. Everybody set? All right, so I can say, oh, you have to make a motion. to-
Well, no, because we're not taking any motions, but, so these will be,
I'm not going to learn
these will be
rules.
meeting notes. Meeting notes.
We are now officially, unofficial, closed. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.